An increasingly popular technique in new product development is what has come to be known as ethnography, a term that really grew out of the field of anthropology, and it's really just an academic sounding word for observational research. Why do it? Well, I think the notion is that sometimes there's a huge departure between what people say they do versus what they actually do. And the only way we would know this, of course, is through observation. Another problem is that there's some needs that we refer to as unarticulated needs. They're things the customer doesn't even think about and in a straight conversational interview might never bring up. I'll give a couple of examples of that. We were many years ago working with a division of Baxter on a new dialysis machine. And one of the things that no customer ever brought up, but which we observed, is that during a dialysis treatment, the nurses have to be writing a lot of things down. And they seem to be going ridiculous distances across the clinic just to find a flat surface on which to write something down. Nobody ever brought it up, but we observed it time and time again. And what my client ultimately did was they put like a flat shelf on top of the machine that was just incredibly popular, even though it had been totally unarticulated. Now, of course, once you brought it up with people, yeah, they recognized it immediately. Yeah, I always go all the way over to the nurse's station just to write something down. There's also, again, this disconnect between what they do and what they say they do. If you, we were doing something on auto painting, and companies, it turns out the process of color matching is actually non-trivial. It's a very complicated thing to do. And all of the paint manufacturers have a very rigorous, specific set of steps that you're supposed to go through to get a perfect match. Well, when we got out there and started watching guys painting cars, what we saw was they weren't paying any attention to all those steps at all. They were taking every shortcut in the book, figuring they could get it close enough. Why do they do that? Well, most of them are paid based on piecework. So, faster is better, and close enough is good enough. And our client was totally unaware of this. So there's this big disconnect that you can only learn sometimes through observational techniques. Now, there are a lot of pros and a lot of cons to ethnography. One of the difficulties is that the interviews are very costly and very time-consuming. And as a result, it's impossible to get the kind of sample size that many product developers feel they need to do good voice of the customer or good discovery study. So they tend to rely on relatively small sample sizes. The other big problem that everybody contends with is the issue that has come to be known as the Hawthorne effect. And in a nutshell, what that is the notion that observation alters behavior. For instance, you would see this all the time in a construction site, where when the workers know that they're being observed, everybody's going exactly by the book, they're wearing their hard hat and following all the safety rules. And the minute the observers go away, they go back to sometimes we wear the hard hat, sometimes we don't, sometimes we saw a board over our knee, which is a real no-no. It's a great way to cut into your leg. And it's almost impossible to filter that out in an ethnography. It simply is a kind of a fact that a good researcher has to try to contend with along the way.